like shook a little bit. Have a seat. We're not letting him go away. We're going to keep him up here a little bit longer. And I'm going to invite to the stage Brad Korn. Brad is the president of CyberStars, has been a real estate agent in the industry for 24 years, been featured on several television shows about the industry, has been a founding member of John Maxwell Coaching, and very involved in several different areas of the industry. So welcome, Brad.
Great to be here, Wendy.
So what you may not have picked up is these two gentlemen have been collaborating on a project together. So Brad, why don't you tell us what that is?
Well, it's the Emyth. I mean, how many of you have read the Emyth, right? Just about everybody in the room. How many of you have the Emyth sitting on your bookshelf and you'll probably read it now? So I wrote Emyth Real Estate Agent with Michael.
Great job. Let's give him a round of applause. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah,
so,
it's very exciting.
How did the two of you come to collaborate on Emyth Real Estate Agent?
Well, it's been intriguing and very intriguing. The entire idea for what I call the vertical books was to focus our attention on individual markets. And so today there are 19 vertical books: the Emyth Accountant, the Emyth Attorney, the Emyth Landscape Contractor, the Emyth Real Estate Brokerage firm, the Emyth Real Estate Investor, and on and on and on. And the idea was that I'm the generalist, but I want to bring someone, a specialist, who's applied the Emyth principles to the successful development of their practice. And so we did. And Brad is one of those gentlemen who's applied the Emyth to the development of his real estate agent practice so successfully and smartly and intelligently. He is the U.S. Navy SEAL I'm talking about when I speak about it. You might say theoretically. That's what he's done. He's built the logic.
And I started it 20 years ago, and what's crazy is I didn't even realize I had started it 20 years ago. I just know when I got into real estate as a new agent, and I think, I hope you guys can hear this too, because I have a team. I sell 100 homes a year, have been for years. It's like on autopilot, and I say that all the time. But when real estate agents get into real estate, we've got this dream that we're going to make $10,000 every time we sell a house. Unless you're in San Diego, you make $100,000, right? And I came from Missouri, where the average price point is so low. I probably net 2 at the end of the day. So it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And the model is set up that you start out so far behind the hole or in the hole as a brand new agent, the model's designed to fail. So I implemented the Emyth, because I got in 91. Emyth Revisited came out in 95. And I remember picking the book up, and I didn't just read it. I read it 4 times, and then I got it, and then I implemented it and read it 6 more times. And I'm glad you said something about the 4th time, because I've actually coached a lot of agents along the way too, because they're struggling. Even big teams are just going out there and going crazy, and we're just stupid, really. So I coach people to get these models in place and run their business better. So when you said 4 times, that's what I coach to. You got to read a book 4 times. And I look at all my books on my bookshelf and go, I got to read them all 4 times to really get something out of them. So how we met is an unfortunate story. March of 2015, March 13th actually of 2015, it was Friday the 13th. My wife was going to pick up an elderly client on the other side of Kansas City from where we live to take her to a closing. And she got clipped or something and spun around and took a head-on collision by the Kansas City Royal Stadium, Chief Stadium, on that highway right there. It's like the death circle. Well, she takes a head-on collision while I'm in Louisiana speaking at a board. So I'm actually out of town, and she took a head-on collision, and she was unconscious. It was about a 6-car pileup. Well, the good news is, even though she was in a little Nissan Juke, you guys know what a Juke is? I mean, this thing's like a little go-kart. It kept her alive. It did what it was supposed to do, and she recovered. It was about a 12-week recovery. The dash had pushed her femur through her hip socket and shattered her hip socket, and she's 44 years old, and she's very active. She runs our real estate business, the behind the scenes. I'm kind of the idea guy, the leader. And taking her off her feet for 12 weeks was pretty rough on her. And it really like shut her down and unplugged her, and she really couldn't put any weight on her leg at all. So 12 weeks passed, she's recovered. Well, week 14, June 23rd, her birthday's on June 24th. June 23rd, I wake up that morning, like anything, 5 a.m., and she's there snoring. Now, she's snoring a little different than she normally does, so I'm a little concerned. And she had some nose issues from the accident, and she had nose surgery, so I thought maybe sleep apnea. I remember checking the internet, sleep apnea, is she okay? I'm listening for her to make sure she's breathing. That's how concerned I was. But we're not the people, if I would have called the doctor then and said, hey, I need 911 to come pick her up, oh, she would have killed me, right? So she was not breathing, or she was snoring and everything. So finally about 10 o'clock, she doesn't wake up. My daughter comes down and goes, hey, something's not right. And I was like, I know, but she's breathing. So we went ahead and called 911 anyway. Well, they got her stabilized, and on the way to the hospital, they lost her for about 4 minutes. Wow. That lack of oxygen, and then when they got her, they got her to the ER, and they lost her for another 4 minutes. So there's about 8 minutes there where she did not get oxygen completely to her brain. Well, that put her into an anoxic brain injury, which is really crazy because the body works. The stem of the brain got all the oxygen. She could open her eyes, she could move her arms, the normal cough, that kind of stuff. But Sonia was not there. And she really couldn't communicate at all. So I spent the next 5 months taking her wherever I had to take her, and ended up in Lincoln, Nebraska for about 5 months at a place called Madonna, which was what I found through the doctors by asking my great questions, looking for the Navy SEALs. Where do you take somebody? Because they're telling me anoxic brain injury can't be cured. So I need the best of the best. So I went and stayed with her for 5 months, slept in her bed with her, waiting, and we were watching everything, every little eye movement, every little thing. And as I look back on that situation, she really was never there. We saw things like she moved her eye when we asked her to. She never ever did it a second time, and I didn't see that till the end. So after that, I lost her on November 4th of 2015, and she wasn't on life support, guys. I had to make that decision to say, let her go. You can't even let her go. We had to make her go. She wasn't coming back. So that was tough. So fast forward a little bit, I'm sitting in my office in January, and I'm working, and I should say that whole year, I had just put a new admin person in place. And understand that I've been running these systems for 20 years, and I sell 100 homes a year without very much effort. I realize I probably work about 10 hours a week in real estate because I moved to coaching, and as Michael has said, shiny pennies kept your attention going on a lot of other things, or this could be way bigger, which is what this is today, right? So I would sell 100 homes a year, very extremely comfortable life, not having to work very much, and just made the system work whether I was there or not. We sold 97 homes that year with me gone 6 months, and I'm the listing guy. There is nobody else to do listings. I had one buyer's agent that just started with us to show houses, and one assistant who had never been in real estate before. They didn't even know the system, and the system ran the business, and we did 97 sales. So that's when I kind of had this epiphany, and I just remember looking up and seeing the Emyth, and I went, oh my gosh, it's Gerber. Michael's the one that gave me the 5 months with my wife, and I don't know what came over me, but I thank people. I go up to stage when people are on stage. I introduce myself because those are the people, you're the average of the 6 people you hang around. I try to get around people like Michael.
So how did you make that happen?
I literally tracked him down on the internet somehow, found some phone number, left a voicemail and said, Mr. Gerber, you don't know me from Adam. I put the Emyth into place about 20 years ago, and I just wanted to thank you for giving me 5 months with my wife. And he actually called me back the next day. And he basically said, are you the go-to guy? And I've been preaching the database stuff forever, and the issues, what I came up with the book, which I'm sure we'll talk about here in a minute, but I had put that in place, and he asked me if I was the guy that would write the Emyth real estate agent book, and I've never written a book before. I mean, I've done like the How to Buy a House in Kansas City book that's already done that I put my cover on. Those are business cards, right? So this was a big challenge for me, and so that's how we met.
Michael, what was it about that voicemail that compelled you to call the stranger back and have that conversation?
Well, I'll say this not in in any way to contradict what Brad just said. I call everybody back.
Now, there's a great business lesson.
So I do. Much to my wife's dismay, I call everybody back. And I call everybody back for the very reason that there is always some stunning surprise waiting. And when you just keep your mind completely open, I mean completely open, there's nothing closed about my mind whatsoever, other than this part which says I'm going to go out and tell the truth. I'm going to go tell the truth. I'm going to go, no matter what happens. But when I heard this story, what do you say about a story like that? Do you understand? I mean, do you understand how, I mean, of course you understand how existential that story is. Here's this guy who spent 5 months with his wife at the end of her life. And at the same time, his life went on. So his economic life was cared for because of the attention he paid to it before. To me, that's when I speak about U.S. Navy SEALs. To me, that's Special Forces. To me, Brad represents just that.
Yeah. So the book represents, yeah.
Thank you.
So then, Brad, the book represents the systems, the Navy SEAL approach that you have incorporated into your real estate business for several years.
Yeah, so here's the life lesson I got from the whole thing is I've had great coaches, I've had great mentors because I hang around those people, all the top agents in the country. The Cyberstars is 200 of the top techiest agents in the entire industry. They do, I mean, my little 100 sales a year, I'm the smallest fish in that pond, and here I am the guy that's in charge of it, you know? And they do 200, 300 transactions a year, and we learn from each other. And the life lesson I learned was you have got to push way out of the comfort zone. In our real estate industry, the problem is it's very easy to be comfortable because most of the agents, 80% of them, can make more than they would make on an hourly job barely working. And that's a perpetual thing that happens in our industry. So what I did was I created a system because my first marriage, I had 3 daughters, and I'm in real estate, commission only, and I find out I'm getting divorced, and I was on the surprise side of that deal. And I'm finding out I'm getting divorced, and I've got to support 3 girls, and I'm just starting. I mean, I've been in real estate 3 years, right? And so my first 3 years is really scary, guys. My first sale was a year after I got my license. Thank goodness the industry has, the technology has gotten us farther, but I made $10,000 in my first year of real estate. I had 3 other jobs to support my real estate habit. So I had to fix that because now I was in a position I had to raise 3 daughters. And the Emyth came out right then. All I did was implement the book. So now I've had the pleasure of coaching thousands of agents and speaking to thousands of agents and actually a couple dozen one-on-one setting the systems up and seeing the results from it. It's the Emyth. I mean, it's that simple, but we all make it too difficult. So I just made it really simple. So what I found, what Michael just said was I push myself so far out of that comfort zone all the time to just keep doing better that when the bad stuff happens, you get sucked down to comfortable. And I never once had to worry about my house. I don't even know how my house and car payments got made, really. I don't even remember how that got done. But I never worried about the house payment, the car payment, nothing was ever late. And I worry all the time in this industry because 80%, maybe 95% of us, if something bad happened, it would suck us down to uncomfortable. So now my life mission with this book became nobody should have to be uncomfortable in a bad situation and try and manage that. That's too much. You're going to break. You're not going to make it.
So Michael, does the book represent kind of old co and becoming that best of the best, that McDonald's systematic, just leave nothing to chance?
Absolutely. And so understand that Brad and I, with this relationship, are really focused on old co. We're focused on the industry as it is. The industry as it is can be transformed. But it can only be transformed with discipline. but it must also have a vision that's bigger, greater, and more compelling, purposeful than money. So to the degree it's all about money, it's a disaster. To the degree it's about meaning, there's some meaning to what we do. There's a purpose to what we do. There's integrity to what we do. I wear the badge because I believe in it. I believe in it so I can speak to it and about it to anybody and everybody because of the impact we have. That's an incredible thing to do. That's what this is about.
Yeah, so the systems are really simple, and it's just the core. It is the core of the Emyth. He talks about the three-legged stool. It's the lead conversion, and the closing, or the client fulfillment system. And so what I've coached for the last 20 years, which is a system I just created, was I knew, well, we've already talked about this for the last day and a half, that the agents just won't put them in the database. They won't put them in the database. We're all getting these leads to funnel in, and we're all seeing a 1% conversion rate on these massive leads. People have spent millions of dollars to come up with the ultimate database, and I've watched people try to put one-on-one touch systems with massive lead capture and merge the two, and it doesn't work. There's not the connection there. So when we market to the masses and you get a relationship and you get referrals from a person, what I'm doing, my system just starts in the middle and works back out. Master the relationship and master everybody we come with. And so a couple of the numbers going through this stuff and really analyzing it and figuring out this industry, trying to make a huge difference. And I really, it's funny, I mean, 20 years ago I thought, man, this stinks. This is hard work. I don't know if I'm going to make it. And I had 2 other jobs to support it. It's like, I'm going to change this industry somehow because it's messed up. And now I'm sitting on stage with Michael Gerber and at the T3 conference. I mean, this is unbelievable, and it's an opportunity to do that. It's not about a book, and it's not about buy my system and send my postcard. It's about the Emyth basic principles of business. So basically, it's get the leads in. And here's the number that blows me away. NAR has tracked that the average person, we've always heard, moves every 5 to 7 years, right? Well, how many of you know it's 10 years? It's not 5 to 7 anymore. Is everybody in agreement? And if you don't believe me that it's every 10 years, I have a 10-year follow-up system that I've had going for 20 years, and people move before that plan ever ends. In the last 5 years, more people are ending on their 10-year plan. I just recently had to create a 10-year to 20-year follow-up plan. I know they're staying in their house 10 years because of this crash that we just came out of. So I know that's happening.
Yeah, it's definitely happening. So I see you're holding the book, and we see the book there. Yeah. When is the book available?
Yeah, so here's the thing. It's funny because last year I was excited to tell Stefan that we had crossed paths, and I'm like, I was probably not as excited. I was like looking for advice, like I'm writing a book with Michael Gerber, seeing if he would tell me something, and he's like, don't release it till next year. I'll tell you why later. And I'm like, okay. Well, then you can start writing a book, and everybody's like, you got to get this out now. And Luz Dahlia is Michael's wife, and she's like, no, this needs to be out next month. This is incredible. And so I'm like going all over, and writing a book is not, fun. I can tell you right now, today, I'm not a book writer. After today, I will be. But I write like I talk, and I want this to be the book that you all will give to every single associate that ever gets into real estate, because it's our easy model that will make everybody successful, and it turns everybody into the 90.
Everybody who will do it,
right.
When is it available?
So the book is completely written. We've got 4 chapters edited, and we have, you guys, I think you're going to get in a week or 2 the ability to download the first 4 chapters because we've got those done. I don't even know the book publishing process to know how much longer.
It's on its way then.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
wonderful. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your story, your passion, and your expertise with the industry.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And we're going to invite Stefan and Jack up to the stage.
Michael, thank you.
Thank you.
Brad, thank you very much. Wendy, great job.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen,